Hey everyone, Sergio with the Rideshare Guy. Welcome to another episode of Sergio's Diaries. Uber, over the last 10 years, or actually 12, that I've been a driver on their platform, had some really doozy products which drivers do not like, or did not like, and still continue not liking. For example, Uber Pool, which turned into Uber Shared. I haven't heard from too many drivers that they like that product. Another one was Uber Teen. Personally speaking, I did a lot to get it removed in California because CPUC kind of agreed that teenagers should not be in cars with drivers who have not been fingerprinted, background checked, and drug tested. But now, I think this one takes the cake. Couple of days ago, I received in my app a notification, which I receive quite often from Uber, as we all know. It was announcing Uber Cash trips. Now, this is not new for Uber. Uber has been using cash trips in Mexico, in Brazil, and in the UK, specifically in Mexico and Brazil, for about 8 to 9 years now. I understand why that may be. However, what was the premise of Uber when they first came around? Seamless, cashless transactions, correct? What was the complaint about taxis? It was cash. Why were all those taxi drivers assaulted and robbed? Because they carried cash, and the criminals knew that they carried cash. In fact, in every cab, last time I was in a cab, probably was a decade ago, it says, driver does not carry any cash, or they don't have change for more than 20, or things like that. You guys know what I'm talking about. Well, now, I got the notification a couple of days ago. I drive in Los Angeles. Now, Uber tested Uber Cash trips in about 4 cities starting 6 months ago. They piloted it. Obviously, they had good results, I'm assuming. And now, I received a notification not only in my app, and I checked with Uber, by the end of August, it's going to be in 50 cities, major cities, such as Los Angeles. I'm going to walk you guys through how cash trips are going to work. Now, I personally am not going to go near cash trips, and I'm going to explain why. Everybody is an individual, everybody makes their own decisions and do what they like to do in this world. I'm not doing this video to tell you what to do or what not to do. Personally speaking, I am not going to do Uber Cash trips, and I will explain why. But before I do that, let me explain how this is going to work. I'm sure you have a lot of questions. By the way, I'm going to have a detailed article posted on our newsletter, free newsletter, at www.therideshareguy.com. Please go subscribe so you can receive articles like the one I'm about to write. And I write about 4 or 5 articles a month. So, going back to Uber Cash trips, it's going to be launched in about 50 major cities, including Los Angeles. I got emails from drivers in Colorado and Texas and Florida that they're getting it as well. So if you do get a notification in your app, it's coming to your city. So this is how it's going to work out. I'm sure you have a lot of questions about it, and hopefully in this video I'll be able to answer some of them. If I'm not, email me, sergio@therideshareguy.com. I will be able to answer those if I miss anything. So, first of all, cash trips only are going to take place between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. Okay, that's one. Number 2, cash trips only could be utilized by verified riders. Now, if you do understand what that is, Uber launched verification of riders through a third party. I am not sure how valid they are, to be honest with you, but I am noticing that a lot of fake names have gone away that we used to do segments on Show Me the Money. So, those are the 2 things to start with. However, when a ping comes in, when a ride offer comes in, it's going to say Uber Cash or Uber Cash trip. Uber is saying that there is about 15% of the population in the US is underbanked or unbanked. So a lot of those people are going to be able to use Uber Cash chips. Again, I'm not making a judgment on this yet, but towards the end of the video, stick around. I will make my judgment and I will tell you guys what I am going to do. So the ping comes in, it says Uber Cash. You accept it, the rider gets in the car, just like any other Uber trip. You're going to your destination, everything is the same. Upfront fare, right? You see your fare that you're going to get, you see the pickup, you see the drop off. Nothing changes except the transaction is going to be in cash when the trip ends. So, the rider, for example, I'm giving an example. Let's say Uber charges the rider $50 and Uber pays you upfront fare $25. Okay, the trip ends. The rider should hand you a $50 bill. There is no change required unless the rider asks for it. Uber says that don't argue with the rider, don't get into a confrontation with the rider. Even if they don't pay you, you accept it because it's better than getting into an argument with the rider. Okay, I get it. So, for example, continue with that 50-25 example. In the best case scenario, the rider hands you a 50, you take it, you say thank you, you go within the app, manually enter what the rider paid, $50. Transaction is closed, you finish the trip, rider gets out. Now, you just collected the service fee for Uber, right? The take rate. Uber charged 50, you got paid 25. Now that 25 is on you to pay back to Uber. You're becoming a collection agent for Uber, basically. Okay. Now this brings in some questions about employment, right? I'm not their employee. Why am I collecting your service fee for you? But that's a different topic. Let's take the same example, but different way now. So, trip was offered to the rider for 50. It was offered to you for 25. Rider gets in, goes to the destination. Rider says, sorry, man, I only have 40. You don't question it. You receive the 40 from the rider. Say, have a nice day, sir or ma'am. They get out. You put in 40. Now, Uber knows, okay, that you got shortchanged for $10, right? Okay? What Uber will do is they will take their 25 out of that 40 first and pay you 15 and make you whole with the next 10. You guys are getting it yet? Okay. What could go wrong with this? We can't even get a cancellation from Uber support. I can see thousands of drivers calling Uber support and trying to prove that the rider did not pay the full fare. Let's go to the third one. There's 4 of them. The third one is same trip, $50 offer, $25 for you. Rider gets in. Rider pays you 60. He says, I have 3 20s. Here's 60. Okay. You take the 60, put it in the app. Now, there is not supposed to be a cash exchange or change return to the rider. Right? We're not a cab. Well, it looks like we are, though. Uber says, don't argue with the rider. What if the rider now says, give me my $10 back? And you say, well, Uber tells me that I'm not supposed to carry cash and I don't have change. What could go wrong on that situation? Because most people who are using cash want their money back. That's why they don't have any other money. What if that person needed the $10 and they're going to go buy something else with that $10 with the change that they're expecting? Rider is always right. So now in that circumstance, what happens is that you tell the rider, Uber is going to give you your $10 in Uber Cash so you can use it for your next trip. What could go wrong with that idea? Let me see. Oh, you could be a huge argument saying, no, man, give me my $10 back. You owe me $10. Because the rider doesn't know Uber. Rider knows you. Okay. So these are the 3 circumstances that we came up with. But what if a rider gets in the car, right? And trip finishes, it's a cash trip, and he goes, hey man, I have no money whatsoever. What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to not argue, you're supposed to not get into an argument or confrontation and say, thank you, have a nice day. Then you go report it to Uber that the rider paid nothing. But what if the rider says, no, I paid the driver $50? Do you see the problems here? Do you see this nightmare that Uber is opening this can of worms on us? right? Therefore, if you're going to do cash trips, please have a dash cam because you're going to need it. You're going to need proof of all this. Now, conclusion. I think this is the worst product Uber has come up with in their history of 12 years. 1, safety. Now, one good thing that you guys are able to do in your city when it first shows up is you are able to opt out. In your preferences box, those little 3 lines on the left-hand corner above the go button, you click on it, you'll see the preference menu, right? On the bottom of that, it will say opt in or opt out. Now, be very careful, folks. Even if you opt out, which I am going to opt out, what happens is that sometimes the app has its own mind. Every day when you get in the car, please check that if you opt out, it's toggled off. Because Uber app has a tendency of toggling that automatically back on. So that's a little tip for you all. But maybe you like doing cash trips. I don't know. But let me explain this to you a little bit further. So now, we are a major target for criminals. Because criminals don't know if we opted out, we didn't opt out, but they know every Uber driver carries cash now. Because they don't know if we opted out or not. And what do we have on the window? The trade dress. Oh, there's an Uber driver. Let's put a gun to this guy's head and rob him. What could go wrong? What could go wrong with any of this cash trips? Number 2, you are collecting the service fee for Uber. You are their collection agent, basically. Okay? Well, let's say you did that same trip, $50, and they paid you $25. Okay? And you did that single trip, only one trip that day. Guess what? The next morning, your shift is going to start with negative 25 because you have to pay Uber back that 25 before you can earn any money for yourself. What could go wrong with that picture? For me, this is a ridiculous product. I will not do it. I'm not recommending you guys doing it or not. Everybody's an adult. You make your own bed and sleep in it. But this is the worst idea as far as driver safety is concerned. We know the most robbed people in the old days of cash were cabbies. What happened to Uber being a seamless cashless society, cashless transaction? That's why everybody flocked to Uber. Now the criminals in the city know that Uber drivers are carrying cash. Uber in fact says that go make frequent deposits. What am I? I'm not your collection agent. What am I supposed to do? After every cash trip, go find an ATM machine, park my car, go to the ATM, deposit my cash? The criminals in the city don't care. They know you're carrying cash. They're going to come after you. They're going to rob you. And I posted this on Twitter. A lot of comments came in, and one driver said, Dara Khosrowshahi, the CEO of Uber, is going to have blood in his hands. I mean, I don't want to go that far, but this is the most unsafe thing that Uber can do. But what is Uber's risk? Uber has no risk in this whatsoever. They want you to take all the risk. As if rideshare driving is safe enough, okay? Now, you guys are going to do cash transactions. And maybe I'm taking this too far. Maybe nothing will happen. Maybe people will be, great with the cash transactions. Maybe they'll take your word saying that they're going to get, the $10 in Uber credit if they overpay you. How's this going to be proven? Your word against the rider word, or I paid, didn't pay. That's why I highly recommend if you're going to do cash trips, if you're going to do any kind of trips, you should have a dash cam. Now, last but not least, this product, this Uber Cash, is going to be in 50 different cities. You may choose to do them. You may choose not to do them. But please be careful out there, especially if you're going to handle cash. The old days of Uber are going back to the old days of cabbies. I said this a million times. What is Uber? Uber is a cab company with an app. Well, now you all are going to become cabbies and do cash transactions. I am not buying what Uber is saying about 15% underbanked and unbanked. Those people can go to a Walmart, buy an ATM card, buy a debit card, prepaid debit card, and load it in their Uber app. They obviously have the app downloaded. They're going to order the trip on their app, right? I am not buying any of this. This is Uber's greed of trying to increase revenues, trying to increase top line, trying to increase ridership at the haste of driver safety. Driver safety should not be jeopardized for Uber numbers to get better and better. They're already doing fine. So, last but not least, I am going to opt out. I am not going to do cash chips. And make sure you're toggled off if you decide to opt out, because app will turn it on. So, if you guys want to discuss this further, please drop a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. Are you going to do cash chips? Are you not going to do cash chips? Because what I will do is I will send this video to Uber with all your comments below. Maybe somebody will do it. I don't know. I've heard a couple of drivers doing it, but not only it's an accounting nightmare, it's a safety nightmare as far as I'm concerned. So, with that said, join us every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern for Show Me the Money Club. We will discuss this again in the upcoming weeks because I'm getting cash chips. I'm jumping for joy. As of the end of August, I'm going to have cash chips available to me to accept in Los Angeles. Let me know what city you're driving. Let me know your comments. Stay healthy. Please be safe out there.